Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We're coming to you on this Friday morning as we get closer to Christmas on the Mike Francesa channel, on the Bet Rivers Network, on YouTube. Football Friday for Week 15, which began last night with the Rams. Want to call it boring? Want to call it, uh, surprisingly low scoring, whatever you want to say. The Rams field goal showdown with the beat up Niners that produced the Ram victory, and now the Rams at 8-6 have a very, very good chance to win that division. As a matter of fact, looking ahead, the Rams have the Jets on the road. They're at the Jets. They're home against Arizona, and they're home against Seattle. And I think it's going to come down to that Seattle at the Rams game the last week of the season to see who wins the division. Niners are going nowhere, and they're all beat up. But the Rams are playing much better. They've gotten healthy on the offensive line, which has meant that the running game works, which means the passing game works. You know the skill they have with Stafford at quarterback, with a very talented running back, with two great receivers, including in really, we all know what they use Cooper Cup for. Okay, he's in motion every play, but Nakua has become one of the real great players in the NFL. I mean, he's a remarkable player in terms of explosiveness, in terms of his hands, the catches he makes. I mean, he really is an amazing player. So uh, they have a chance to finish very strongly. They've played very well lately. Stafford's played well. He didn't play well last night. The rain was an issue. The Niner defense was an issue. It was a defensive struggle, but they got the running game going in the second half. They pushed the running game enough to get 100 yards out of Williams on a lot of carries. Were able to get enough field goals to win the game and hold off. The Niners had a rough game. Couldn't get the ball to the wide receivers. A couple of big drops. Deebo Samuel had a huge drop. He would have scored a touchdown on the play, a slant for a touchdown. He dropped it. I mean, right in his hands. Rough night for Purdy. But overall, listen, they've been too beat up. That's all there is to it. It's not the Niners' year. Can be the Rams' year. Now, moving to Sunday. A lot of interesting games. A couple of real highlight games. Let's get the Giants and the Jets out of the way first. The Giants will welcome the Ravens. I would figure this will not be a ton of empty seats because I would think the Raven fans would come up, 95 and, take the tickets and go to the game. I would expect, I mean, they support their team. Their team's a good team. Obviously, it's an incredible mismatch. As a matter of fact, the Giants will be the biggest underdog this Sunday that they have been at home since 1966. They are a 16-point underdog at home. And the last time they were this big an underdog, they were even a bigger underdog against the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants were finishing a terrible season. And the Cowboys, the last game of the year, came into Yankee Stadium. And the Giants were giving up record numbers of points. But they, as it happens a lot of times in the second game of divisional games in the season, especially late in the year in cold weather, you get low scoring games there and a lot of tight games there. They really, even when one team's out of it, you get that. That game was 17-7, and the Giants that year were giving up like 5 points. They were giving up a record number of points. I think they were the first team to give up 500 points. They went 112-1 that year. And the Giants lost to the Cowboys 17-7, but they were a huge underdog. They're going to be 16-point underdogs on Sunday. The fans will be happy, and that'll bring some fans out too that Tommy DeVito's playing because Locke's hurt. But let's be honest. At some point in the game, the Ravens are going to make big plays. They're going to make it with the running game. They're going to make it in the passing game. And the game's going to get out of hand. Let's be honest. It'd be hard for this game because the Ravens are going to score points, and the Giants can't score points. So, I mean, it is what it is. But they're 16-point underdogs. Jets are in Jacksonville. in a battle of 3-10s. Um, who cares? I mean, let's be honest. Now we'll just wait and see where they go. I actually had a chat with Mr. T yesterday. I didn't get any. He's just starting his process using his 33rd team, which he has, started. And check out the 33rd team. It's got a lot of good NFL information. He's using that. He and Spellman just him and Spillman to kind of put together a list for the Jets general manager, coaches, guys they should look at. But they're just getting started with that. Chiefs, who continue to find a way, despite their play, continue to find a way, take on the Browns. Browns are dangerous at home. Here's what you have to worry about in this game. And Kansas City's going to go in and say, listen, we have a special player here. We are not going to let Myles Garrett torment him. So they are going to double team him every play. So now the question is, on the other side, as Kansas City is so woefully weak at the tackles, can they load up either in the middle or on the other side a pass rush to bother Mahomes? I think they can, because they're going to have to put two guys on Myles Garrett every play, because if they don't, he's going to get to the quarterback. And Kansas City has got to figure out how to get their tackles up to a certain level, or they're not going anywhere. That's all there is to it. It's holding them back dramatically. They got some issues on defense too. They have some issues in that lineup right now. But the bottom line is they've got to get better at the tackle spot before the playoffs start. Bengals 5-8 take on the Titans at 3-10. The Bengals aren't bad. We know that. Burrow's having a great season. But their defense is terrible. But they'll win again this week, and now they can play spoiler. They're not going to the postseason. They have no chance of that. But they can play spoiler, and they can try and see if they can run the table, and see how motivated they are as they finish up what is a highly disappointing season. Washington at the Saints. We'll see what's going on with the Saint quarterback position. Washington at 8-5 has a very good chance to go to the postseason this year. Cowboys, Panthers. The Panthers are on a string now of covering point spreads. They've been a very live dog the last month. Wouldn't be surprised if they are just the more motivated team here. Okay, they are going to. They're the favorites in this game. They're favored by a field goal, so they're not an underdog to the Cowboys. But I think they're more motivated with the young quarterback to play well. And it's a first-year coach. They're trying to finish strong. They're trying to get something built here. Trying to get something started. So I would expect them to beat the Cowboys on Sunday. Dolphins trying to see if they can run the table at the Texans this week, and they can win this game. The Dolphins. The Texans have not played well. The Texans are in the right place. They're 8-5. They're in the right place in the division. Okay. They're lucky they beat the Colts early in the season when they did. It was a big positive that they did. They have a 2.5 game lead over Indianapolis. They're going to win the division, but they're not the same team, and they really haven't played well. And I would not be surprised if the Dolphins beat them. Then the Dolphins have the Niners, which is not as tough as it looked, the Browns, and the Jets. So if they win this week and go to 7-7, they can go to 10-7. They might not get in at 10-7, but then they could get in at 10-7. We'll see what happens. Colts and Broncos, to me, is really has to be viewed as a playoff game. The Colts are 6-7. The Broncos are 8-5. But the Broncos have left the Chargers, the Chargers on the road on a Thursday night, the Bengals on the road, and then Kansas City. Those are going to be tough games for them to win any of them. Now, Colts have Tennessee at the Giants and the Jaguars. If they win this game and get to 7-7, they're going to be 10-7. They can run the table. Their schedule's as easy as anybody in the league after this game. And they've lost some tough games this year. They've lost a lot of close games. They're 6-7, and this will be a very interesting game. Okay, from I think it'll be a. I know the Broncos gave up 1,000,000 points. They were bad in the secondary against the Browns. I don't think that's going to happen here, but I think this is going to be a, 2017 somebody kind of game. Bills and Lions. Bills coming off a bad game against the Rams. Lions, the last 2 weeks, they were bailed out at home by calls, offensive pass interference calls late in the game against the Bears. We know what happened against the Packers. They could have lost both games. They have taken a step back defensively. Now, what statement do they make here? Both these teams have major, major Super Bowl aspirations. Bills are 10-3. That loss last week probably cost them any chance. A loss here, and they can forget. They're done with the 1 seed. Now, Lions are still thinking 1 seed. They're home here. Fascinating game. Steelers and the Eagles, another fascinating game. The Steelers playing very well, sitting in a very, very good position, definitely going to the postseason, has a good chance to be in a very solid place, becoming a serious threat. Now they get the Eagles. Supposedly, the Eagles have patched up this issue between Hurts and Brown. Now, see what's going on here is the Eagles have played well on the offensive line. They've played great in the running game. They've played really well on the defensive line. They have not played well in the passing game. Brown's been very unhappy. We know he can be a pain in the neck. The bottom line is you have the faction there that says, hey, we are a running team. We're going to pound the ball. And then you got Brown screaming, hey, I got to get the football here. The quarterback's got to get me the football here. He's got to be capable of getting me the football here. So does that cause the Eagles strife down the stretch? They have played well. They have played really well for a long time now. Big game this week against the Steelers and their defense. Pats and Cards. Cards have really slipped now. I told you a couple weeks ago, I said the Cards are very hard for me to figure out. I never know when the Cards are going to play well. This week they're playing the Pats, so who cares? But the point is, just when it looked like they were making a move, Arizona, they fall back. They're very hard to figure. They really are. Bucks, 7-6, have now taken command in that division. They have an easy schedule the rest of the way after this Charger game. Their schedule the rest of the way is pretty conducive to them being in good shape. Now the Falcons have, let's be honest, the Falcons have kind of fallen apart. All right, they're not doing anything right. Early in the season, they had a commanding lead. Tampa was in all kinds of trouble, and you thought, hey, Atlanta's going to run and hide in the division. Now the Bucks are up a game. Now this is going to be a tough game. Okay, against the Chargers. I don't think there's any question about it. This is we know that Herbert's banged up. I think he's going to play. You would hope Laird McConkey's going to play. But after this game, Tampa has the last 3 weeks. Let me just check their schedule. Hold on. The last 3 weeks of the season. They have. I'll get to it in a second. But I know it's rather easy, and Atlanta has fallen on such hard times now that you wonder if they're gonna, are they gonna change quarterbacks? We don't know, but where are they as far as what you're going to expect from them the rest of the way? They Their offense is falling apart. We know the defense isn't good. They don't have a big time pass rush. It's a major problem for the Falcons right now in what has become a very disappointing year. The Bucks have the Cowboys on the road in week 16, um, followed by the Panthers at home in week 17, and then the Saints at home in week 18. Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. That is a very, very comfortable schedule for the Bucks. Even if they fall this week to 7-7, you know, and even if that happens, the Falcons, who are at the Raiders this week on Monday night, there's two Monday night games this week. Even if they win that, they have a tougher schedule down the stretch, and the Bucks, who have lost twice to the Falcons, take that into they don't win the tiebreaker, but Falcons just can't get out of their own way right now. Packers and Seahawks is the Sunday night game. Seahawks are playing very well. They've won 4 straight. You got a young coach there who is implementing a system. Big things were forecast for him. He has lived up to that billing. Seattle has found a way. They play, they can be erratic. Gino can be erratic, but their defense is starting to play better. Now the Packers, who are a tough matchup, but Seattle's a tough place to play. That's really a terrific game on Sunday night. So you really have some excellent games coming up late Sunday. You have the Colts and the Broncos. You have the Bills and the Lions. You have the Steelers and the Eagles. And then you have the Packers and the Seahawks. Those are all really interesting games. Monday night, Bears, who just got demolished last week by the Niners. Now they get the Vikings. Vikings have been overlooked way too much. So has Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has done his job. He has, yeah, he throws some interceptions, but he has had a good year. He really has. He's got 28 touchdown passes, 10 intercepts. He's gotten the ball to Jefferson. He gets the ball. He's coming off a 5 touchdown game. That's the first Monday night game. The second Monday night game is the Falcons and the Raiders. And the Raiders, the problem is, they're now down another quarterback. If they had had O'Connell, they were playing hard, especially with Bowers at tight end. Pierce had him still playing hard, but they're running out of players. That's the problem. But the Falcons, nightmares. It has really been bad. It is really something that you'd have to really say was unexpected, because there were the Falcons just rolling along, and it looked like they were going to be cruising in the division. You thought, all right, this is going to be easy for the Falcons, and they have really fallen on hard times. And Cousins now, early in the season, had good numbers. Now he's 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. I think he's thrown 8 interceptions and no touchdown passes in his last 4 weeks. Will they go to the kid? Will they go to Penix? They've lost 4 games in a row. They lost to New Orleans. They lost to Denver. They lost to the Chargers, and then they lost to Minnesota. And last week they gave them 42 points. You don't know what's going on with the Falcons. They don't have a pass rush. They're about the worst pass rush team in the league, and now the offense is falling apart. They never throw the ball to the tight end. It's really a crazy situation. It really is. A couple of things. Let me tell you about the squares. As you know, we talk about the squares. Go to the Bet Rivers app and learn all about it. Players can place same game parlays on college football. You got Army Navy tomorrow, then you got all the playoffs and bowls, and NFL games to earn squares. The exclusive squares offer additional chances at profit boosts, at bonuses, and at the big $10,000 jackpot in bonus money. So 10,000 in bonus money in the jackpots if you win the squares game. It's a nice little addition. Check it out. It's a nice promotion. It's an add-on. Just go to the BetRivers app, go to betrivers.com, go to the BetRivers app, download it, and play the Squares game. Also, the newsletter. Sign up today for the Mike Francesa podcast newsletter at mikefrancesapodcast.com, where you'll get some different video stuff. You get a chance to win merchandise and other things. Just go there. All you got to do, it's free, is just sign up, give them your email, whatever they ask for as far as getting into the newsletter. Check it out. I'll send it to you. I know they're developing some very nice merchandise that they're going to be giving away. They showed me a lot of it, the prototypes. I haven't seen it yet, haven't held it in my hand yet, but I've seen it and it's nice looking stuff. So that's coming down the road. A couple things before I get to the emails. First, Belichick to Carolina. Surprising? Yeah, I'd say yes. Earth shattering? I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, about an 8 in terms of shock. None of us thought Belichick would wind up in college football. We didn't know it was something that he has always had, in the back of his mind. I do know this. Belichick has always been a football purist. He loves the game. He loves the science of the game. He loves X's and O's. As a matter of fact, I believe that Belichick has the most extensive football library in terms of books about football anywhere in the country. I know he's collected them for a long time, and I think he has a vast amount of those kind of books. And there's a lot of books out there, that you haven't seen written by coaches about different things. Now, some of it is highly technical, and you'd have to be a real football purist or a coach to even care. Okay, no one expects you to read that stuff or spend that much time on it unless you really care about the sport. I happen to be one who does. Okay, I delve that deeply into football. I always have. I'm fascinated by it. I always have been. So anytime I can further my knowledge of the game, and there's some great stuff out there that really is highly technical, highly advanced, but it's out there, and I know he's collected that for a very, very long time. Everyone knows he's a very bright guy, and he's also one who likes to read. He always has been, and I guess he and his dad, who was a longtime coach and a very revered coach at Navy for 30 something years, which is why Bill was always going to be a football coach. He started at a very young age with his dad. They used to collect books, going back way, way back. So he has quite an array. Now, look at college versus the NFL. Considering where the NFL is going, and understand this, the NFL franchises are by far the most valuable franchises in sports. We know that. We understand the relationship of where the NFL stands with the other sports and where it stands in terms of its advantages on television. Okay. These are not mom and pop shops anymore. These are big businesses. They are becoming bigger businesses. You are going to see the days of the individual owners go away, and corporations and hedge funds and Wall Street entities taking command of more and more franchises. As a matter of fact, I think they'll have their hands on all of them by a certain time. I don't know what date that will be, but you will see even the most ardent of families sell off portions of the team to these people. Why? Because it takes a lot of people to run these franchises. They have to be run now like major corporations. It is a 12-month business, and it's a business with a lot of different avenues: marketing, stadium, all kinds of different things. It's relationships to streaming, it's relationships to social media. There are so many things now that are part. It's no longer a mom and pop shop. It's no longer, the Maras in New York, Papa Bear in Chicago, the Browns with a franchise. It doesn't work that way anymore. These are now big businesses, so understand that they are not going to let one man run these businesses anymore. And as a matter of fact, most owners are not going to let one guy run the entire franchise anymore. It's just not going to happen. So the days of the Belichicks having that kind of power are probably over. The coach will coach. He will not run the entire franchise. Now, because things will be departmentalized, it's just the way it is. Okay. Um, why does that make college for someone like him? First of all, he's not young. Before you know it, he's going to be heading towards 80. He's 72 years old now. Might even be 73. He's either 72 or 73, one or the other. Um, he might be in good shape, but still, there's a finite amount of time he's going to coach. Now, what were the advantages for Carolina? Number one, he set it up so that he can hand the franchise off to his son, which is something any father would love. You want to take care of your son, you want to set him up in business. His son already is an accomplished coach, the defensive coordinator at Washington this year. Okay. There was even talk of him getting some lesser uh, head coaching offers. Now he will go there, be the defensive coordinator, and eventually replace him, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, he's going to replace him as the head coach. That succession process has already been put in place. It's been agreed to. Now, college football for major college institutions now has become very big business. You need a guy to be every school will have a general manager. Okay. You've had guys now who are in my business step away and take over colleges. Okay. Like Woj has done at St. Bonaventure as an example. Okay. You've had Dunleavy leave college basketball and go to Villanova. Every school, major college basketball, major college football, will have a quote unquote general manager. That guy will be in charge of the business. He'll work with the athletic department on the business of football, but also he will be in charge of raising the NIL money and procuring the talent. Okay, Bill Belichick's reaching back to his old guys. Lombardi's going to be the GM. Okay, I don't know how many of his old guys he's going to bring in, but that's going to be set up. He will be very advanced in that area. Now, I've already seen people say he's going to fail in college. It's silly to say that. Does that mean he's going to win a national championship his first year? No. But he's going to put a very good product on his field because, number one, he wouldn't have gone there without the backing. He would not have gone there without the backing of a trustee who has a tremendous amount of money to handle his salary. The amount of money he's going to spend putting this organization together and making sure the NIL money is there. If you don't have the NIL money locked up, you're not going because you can't win. Belichick's smart enough to know that. So the NIL money, somebody has already vouched for it. I guarantee it. Guarantee you they know how they're going to put their money. They know how they got one guy who's going to bankroll a big part of it, and then they'll use fundraising techniques like every school does to raise money. Every school does the same thing now. They try to hit up their alums, especially their well-heeled alums, and their season ticket holders for NIL money. You want to have a good thing, product to go see, kick in some cash. That's how it works. Okay. Plus, there's no restrictions on that now. He can get players from anywhere. They can't. They don't say to him, "You're over the cap." They don't say to him, "You can't get this player, and you can only draft. You draft 22nd. You draft." No, you go after anybody you want. It's a free for all. If he gets the 10 best players in the country, so be it. He's going to have a very good eye for those players. He have to build relationships now into the high schools? Yes. He's going to hire young, aggressive guys who have big track records at other schools as recruiters. They're going to be flocking to him, no question. the guy who knows Florida, a guy who knows Texas, a guy who knows, okay, because you go into Florida, you go up the east coast of Florida, you know how many players you can get? 300. 300 Division One players a year are produced in the state of Florida. It's a gold mine. You might not get a whole bunch of quarterbacks, but you get everything else. It's a gold mine. Same thing with Texas, Ohio. There's a couple of states. They all mine these states, but the bottom line is that won't be a problem. Now, the schedule, you can actually manage that to a point. And obviously, you're competing for the same quarterbacks like everybody else. Everyone will be able to put their hands on the quarterback. Now the question is, how do you get him? You're going to tell me that a guy who goes in with all those Super Bowl rings on his hands and brings Lawrence Taylor with him is going to have trouble recruiting a high school kid? Kid, what do you want to do one day? Oh, I want to play in the Super Bowl. I want to win the Super Bowl. I want to be Mahomes. Well, let me introduce you to the greatest defensive player of all time who went to North Carolina, and let me show you these Super Bowl rings that I have. And if you want me to take out the ones I have as a defensive coordinator, I have 2 more. I think those are going to impress a kid when he throws 8 Super Bowl rings on the table? I don't think it's a problem. So getting the players will not be a major problem. Will this be a top 10 program? If it's not, I think you got a scoop. Does that mean they're going to win a championship every year and, beat Alabama and Georgia and Oregon right out of the box and Ohio State? No. But I would think within 2 or 3 years, they'll be ready, right there, ready to compete with them. I'd be very surprised if they won't. They will play a very sophisticated brand of football. And there will be some defensive game plans that high school players will have a very hard time deciphering. The other thing is the hardest thing to do now in the NFL is to build the staff. If you talk to anybody who is a head coach now versus a head coach years ago, they will tell you it is almost impossible to get a good staff. First of all, these staffs now are so many people compared to the old days. Secondly, they don't allow you to pirate guys. There aren't a lot of layers anymore. If a guy's an assistant coach there, you can't bring him over to your place as an assistant coach. It's not happening. You got to bring him over as a head coach, and you can't bring him over with a fake tag like assistant head coach or offensive coordinator. It doesn't work. They took away those designations so that they stopped all that stuff. So it's very, very hard. I have heard that from so many guys. Do you know how hard it is to put a staff together now? When you realize, okay, you go back to some of the staffs Parcells had. He had 6, sometimes 7 guys who were NFL head coaches at one point or another on his staff. Think about it. 6 or 7 guys who at least at one point had been head coaches on the NFL level. That's you find teams now that don't have one that have head coaching experience. It's a whole different world now. And obviously the hot young offensive coach is in incredible demand now. And it's amazing because half the NFL now has been produced by McVay. I mean, we know that. And McVay is a terrific coach. I mean, if he was on the free agent market, the bidding for him would be so astronomical, it would be off the charts. It would be for Andy Reid too, but he's too old. But McVay's a baby. If he was ever free of the Rams, it would be astronomical how much money he would make because he's really good. And so many guys who touched his staffs have become big-time coaches. It is remarkable how much of it has gone on in the league considering how young he is. But so there are a lot of things The other thing, if you want to get into it, lifestyle, the NFL for a head coach is unmerciful. It is 11 plus months a year. And even the one vacation they take from the second week in June to the last week of July, they're still busy doing stuff during that time, the head coach. They don't even relax then. They'd have I used to spend time during that time with Bill, and he'd have the book out every night. Well, I'd be staying with him. We'd be, somewhere playing golf, or we'd be away, and he'd have the thing out every day. Even though, and he'd be on the phone. He never took off. They never stop. At least in college, there's a break. They can get some time off. I'm not saying they don't have to recruit, but remember, recruiting for Belichick is going to mean, hey, the kid's going to come into the office and with his knees knocking because he's going to meet Bill Belichick. It's going to be like it used to be at Notre Dame for Arrow. You know what they did? They brought him into a room, and Arrow was in there, and you would be so scared as a player, your knees would be knocking when you went to meet him. Same thing with Bear Bryant. Well, that's how it was. They closed the players. That was it. And the very, very rare player would they actually go to, that would have to be O.J. Simpson, okay, or a player of that magnitude for that to happen. He just has to close deals, and he has guys scouting. He has guys who are assistants, and he has young guys who will do that, and he has guys who run that department, and then he closes deals. That's what he does. But he will bring a level of sophistication and a level of product to that university, which have they seen that before? Well, in the rare cases like with a Saban, who was that good, it will be on that level, if not even more advanced. So I would expect them to be good. I don't expect them to all of a sudden knock off 5 championships. Okay, it doesn't work that way. But Carolina has been a program that's not even been an annual top 25 program. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Okay, once in a while up to the top 10 if they had a great year, something special. But let's be honest, they're not a football factory. They will be now. That will happen, and it'll be very interesting to see how quickly they do it. That will be a fascinating study in how quickly this gets done. And let's be honest, what is he missing not going back to the NFL? Number one, the only place he can go is down, which is what happened his last couple of years. He can't make his legacy any bigger than it already is. And other than the Shula record, which I don't think that many people, if I asked them how many wins it was, they wouldn't even know. I don't think they care. I don't think they care. Plus, Andy Reid could hang around and break that anyway. If he really wanted to. I don't know if he will. Because he's, got some years. He could do it. The way he's knocking off wins every year, he could do it. But again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So there really isn't that much to gain there. And I don't think he was ever going to regain the power that he was used to having. Now he went to a place where he can still put his system in place and have total control. So from his standpoint, and a better lifestyle, and a succession plan set up for his son, and an easier way to build a staff, and an easier way to procure talent. There's a lot of things to like. Plus, it's a great place to live. So there's a lot of positives. Let me get to a couple of quick emails before we say goodbye. Emails, of course, Mike Francesa podcast at gmail.com. AJ, What should my expectations at this point be for the Steelers? How about AFC title game? How about that? That'd be a nice season. If they go past that, be sweet. How about that? Sean, including Burrow, how surprised are you by all these athletes' houses? Yeah, this is an issue. He's talking about the houses being broken into. The players who are playing in games, and it seems a lot of times in prime time games, there were some games when they were home on Sunday also where their houses have become targets. It's a troubling thing, whether it's drones or what level of sophistication they have to. NFL has to up security. Local law enforcement's got to up security. It's an issue. Out of these three players, who do you think was on the best path to becoming an all-time great before their injuries or issues? Andrew Luck, Derrick Rose, or Josh Hamilton? Luck. I think Luck was great. I think at times Hamilton was great. But I would say Luck. Michael, now that the Mets are proving they're willing to spend and do whatever it takes, do you think it's time for the Yankees to modernize by ditching the facial hair policy and some of their old school traditions? I hope not. I hope not. I think the Yankees can be the Yankees. I love some of the things about the Yankees. I love the idea of what they impose in terms of the way you look on the field. I also love the fact that they don't have 42 uniforms, and their uniforms are classic in every way. I like a lot of the Yankee traditions, and let's be honest, there are only a few franchises that actually have real traditions. The Yankees do, the Dodgers do, the St. Louis Cardinals do, but very few, led of course by the Yankees. Um, and Kyle, we can all agree that Purdy has dramatically exceeded expectations, but can San Francisco really afford to pay him one of these mega quarterback deals? Is it the player or the system? Is it the player or the system? Now, here's one thing you know: the player fits the system, and they've already proved they can win and win big. So I think they know that they don't have to go searching. The question is, at what price are player and franchise satisfied? That's the question. Because while Purdy is not Josh Allen or Mahomes, he has proved inside the Shanahan system that he can be a big time winner. Then why fool with it? It's just about money. We'll see you later.